Hello there friends, my name is Rachel GNS Middle. Gilbert and Sullivan is my middle name, and my middle name is my last name. And I am here today on behalf of Forbear Theatre to explore the magic of the Gilbert and Sullivan operas by very pedantically ranking every element of them. I'm dressed the same as I was in last week's video. That's because I made them at the same time. I didn't just dress up in the same clothes. Because they follow a theme, but I have heard all of your feedback and people want shorter videos, so I'm going to make sure these videos are shorter for you all. More bite-sized chunks of GNS joy rather than huge 3-hour-long essays, or in the case of the Utopia Limited dialogue video, over 4 hours. Before we get started, I'm just going to let you know about a project I have coming up, which is not actually Forbear Theatre, but it still features me as a director, so I want to put that out there into the world. I am currently directing The Yeoman of the Guard for the Grosvenor Light Opera Company. We are putting that on in June in London in the Bridewell Theatre, and we are also doing it on the 29th of August in the Buxton Opera House. So Glock is finally back on the main stage at the GNS Festival, which is really good news, and I'm thrilled to be directing for this company. It is one of my absolute favourite companies I have ever come across in my GNS career, and I would say actually as a performer, maybe it's even my favourite, obviously excluding Forbear Theatre, but that's just me being biased. It is such a warm, welcoming, awesome group of really cool people, and I am honoured they picked me to direct them. We've already had our first rehearsal, and the cast are so brilliant. Everyone is so up for it, and I cannot wait to show you guys what we come up with. I know everyone's going to work really hard. We've got a fantastic cast, and yeah, so look out for that one when it comes. This week, in contrast to last week's which characters would I most like to be friends with? This is which characters in the GNS operas would I least like to be friends with? And I'm including a variety of reasons. Some characters I've missed off because the explanation of why I wouldn't be friends with them is too similar to other characters. So things like, if two characters come in a pair, I've only included one of them, if that makes sense. But it's a bit of fun anyway. In 10th place, we have Edwin from Trial by Jury. Now the thing is, I will say that actually Edwin does have charisma. I will give him that. But the thing is, he is just so shallow. And the fact that he thinks he can get away with marrying somebody one day and then marrying someone else the next day, maybe he doesn't think he can get away with it. There's something about the way he's just so open about how skeevy he is and so proud of it. On the one hand, he's honest, which is better than some of the characters in this list. On the other hand, he is not a character to be emulated, and if I were to meet a guy who had done something like that, so openly and so proudly, I would not want to be friends with that person, really. Hey, I'm all for a bit of philandering. If you are openly having a lot of amazing, cool, casual relationships with people, and it's all consensual and they enjoy it, that's great. I am the first person to applaud that, and I disagree with conventional relationships anyway, so I think that is fab. But it's the fact that he did it in a dishonest way, but it's now yeah, I did it, and yeah. He's a bit gross, is Edwin, but he has charisma, and I'll give him that, and he plays the guitar, which is kind of cool. Number 9, I have given to Don Alhambra from the Gondoliers, and the thing is, this guy, you probably could play him in a way that is just a bit more awkward than predatory. And that's how Rowley played him for Forbear Theatre, and I think he did an excellent job. But the thing is, however you look at it, this is not really a guy that I think I would ever feel comfortable with. He just makes such awkward and weird comments, and not in a way that's charming or in a way that I'd accept a bit of unusualness from people who are, say, neurodivergent like I am. It's okay to say weird stuff every now and again, but it's everything he says is odd and geared towards telling people they're attractive or putting people down or abusing his status. And what is so good about him is like, and I love him as a character because he's such a foil to how joyful the quartet are. But really, like, I do not think I would want to hang out with this guy. I think he would give me he would give me that. Number 8, I have given to Sir Joseph from HMS Pinafore. And the thing is, there's a lot of great stuff to be said about this guy. I think he's an awesome character. And I love how clever he is. Like, he's a really clever guy. What I don't like about Sir Joseph and what would prevent me from being friends with him is the fact that he seems to just not like women. I don't know if Gilbert actually intended it this way, but he does seem to be the most queer-coded out of any of the GNS characters. I do think that there are some gay men, especially in the theatre industry, who just seem to hate women and just kind of think, oh, the little pretty kind of irrelevant little things. And like Sir Joseph, just for me, like fits into this category of men who just seem to hate women or just see them as transactional relationships. And he doesn't seem to have any respect for who she is as a person. And honestly, I know this is the Victorian times, but I just have zero patience for that. I'm not on board with that whatsoever. If you look at all these other characters that Gilbert wrote, and even Gilbert himself, you know, they had conversations with women, they respected women, they understood that women could be clever. But Sir Joseph just doesn't seem to see that at all. All he wants to do is hang out with men. You could even, in some readings, call Sir Joseph a bit predatory, like the way he kind of uses his position to kind of get a bit closer to the sailors, like if you are going down that angle. So it's important, I think, to play him non-predatory. But yeah, I think that even though Sir Joseph can be really cool, and he's definitely got like a lot of like iconic value, that there is a danger of making him really unlikable in that way, in the sense that he does just seem to hate women, and that's not cool, Sir Joseph. Number 7, I have given to Talala. And I didn't include Mantara because he just kind of goes in with Talala. But the thing is, Talala, if you go in, Talala, I think, is a bit worse. And the reason I think Talala is worse is because of that horrible song he sings to Phyllis. Spurn not the nobly born. Like, it's just awful. Like, so you think that all these poor people are all noble, but I can be noble too. You're discriminating against me because of my rich status. And the thing is, that seems ludicrous, but that is so like politicians today. He just drips with that kind of gross public school, super rich boy energy. And that is what I loathe in politicians today. And it's quite important when you're doing Iolanthe, I think, to try and make Talala and Mantara just like overly ridiculous so that you can really laugh at their kind of camp value, as in making them super heightened in order to get this point across. But if you really think of Talala and who he is, in reality, he is a disgusting individual. Like, he is a really gross guy. And again, there's no excuse for it. Like Sir Joseph, there's no excuse. Many people were incredibly respectful of women in the time this was written, but Talala is not. Oh, he objectifies Phyllis so much. Oh, horrible. Number 6, I have given to Angelina, just so that you don't think it's only men on this list. I also don't like some women as well. Angelina, to me, is worse than Edwin. The reason she's worse than Edwin is at least Edwin is kind of owning what he's doing. Whereas Angelina is just... It's really kind of gross and shallow what she's doing. The fact that she just like marries a judge at the end, I mean, presuming that's consensual. I mean, if it's not, that's a whole other can of worms. She is just the epitome of kind of gold digging, like manipulative, like trying to like take advantage of this situation as much as she can. And I don't believe for a moment she actually loves Edwin. So what is she doing? Like, what is she trying to get out of this? I guess in the Victorian times, like breach of promise to marry, like maybe was something quite serious, because I imagine that there were way fewer opportunities for women. So if someone promised to marry you and then they didn't, that does really leave you in like quite a nasty situation. But in this world where looks are a person's value, she could have got another husband again, like easily, like from the way that the jurymen are all kind of going after her. And the thing is, yeah, you could argue that Edwin deserves what she gives him. Like maybe he does. Like he's also on this list, but I just don't think I'd want to be friends with somebody who would just be that shallow. Like, because who are you trying to hurt? Like, you're trying to damage Edwin financially, when I don't really imagine he's got a lot of money. When really you'd just be happy marrying anyone, and eventually she is. I just don't like how shallow she is. And how dishonest she is. Like, using fake feelings to try and ruin somebody's life. Ugh. And number 5 is another traditionally female character, and that is Princess Zara. Now, I don't know if any of you saw my incredible performance of Princess Zara at Utopia Opera's Utopia Limited of April last year in New York City. But I really discovered throughout the course of rehearsing for that show, like, I didn't have this thought when I went to do the role. I thought, oh, she's just kind of like a sweet, kind of empty-headed person. She is not empty-headed. Oh my God, she is so manipulative. She is very focused on this end game. Like, she wants to transform Utopia into England. And yeah, maybe she just loves England, but also she knows that in doing so, she's going to strip everything unique about utopian culture away and make the place worse. Like, she knows it's going to make the place worse. She knows that government by party isn't a good thing. Even though, to be fair, I'll be slightly disingenuous here, because I think probably Princess Zara I could actually stand going for a drink with. Like, I imagine I could sit with her and we'd have a nice chat, and I might even find some things she's had to say interesting, but just the level of the bad things she did, I just wouldn't really want to talk to her. Can you imagine, like, if that happened in reality? Like, she comes back from being educated, it's like, oh, well, you're such barbarians, let me sort you all out. It's gross. It's really, really vile. Princess Zara, you should be ashamed of yourself. Like, you're educated. You can't just say, oh, I'm just like a pretty little girl, I didn't know what I was doing there. She knew what she was doing. And I think the Flowers of Progress are just pawns in it, really. I mean, they're not, they haven't really been particularly manipulated, but they're just along for the ride. Princess Zara is the mastermind behind this operation. And, yeah, not good. Number 4, I have given to Sirel from Princess Ida. Now, where you have Hilarion, who learns from his experiences, who starts to realise that, oh, women are actually pretty clever and have some really interesting ideas, and I've actually grown really attached to one of them. Sirel just remains shallow. And then he sings, like, the grossest song in the whole world. Like, I don't want a woman who's, like, ostentatious, while he himself is being ostentatious. I want a woman who will, like, be demure and sweet. It's like, how dare you? How dare you yourself think that it's okay to behave the way you're behaving, like getting really drunk and making a spectacle of yourself, while saying that women shouldn't be allowed to do that. Or, like, he doesn't like women that would do that. Yeah, it's okay to have taste, but to me this isn't really about tastes. It does seem like super judgmental. Like, he is not just saying that, oh, I just like women that do that. Like, he is kind of actively denouncing women that are probably a bit more like him. And, like, why is that? What is that? What is that about, Sirel? Like, is it just that you want to be the only one that talks in your relationship? You just want someone to, like, be quiet and pretty and shut up? And then he goes and marries Psyche, which is, it's weird because you don't actually hear why that happens. Like, there's no backstory to them getting together. And then Psyche says something like, well, if Sirel doesn't behave himself, which I think probably will be the case, I'll be back. So she's already saying, yeah, it's probably not going to go very well in this relationship. I just think that Sirel can do a bit better, actually. At least Edwin seems to want to settle down with somebody else, and Edwin is kind of owning up and saying, yeah, I kind of messed up here, guys. Like, Sirel doesn't learn a thing. I just don't like the double standard there that he's preaching. I think it is not nice. So Sirel can take a hike. Now, in 3rd place, we have a character from the opera I am currently directing. And I'm interested to see if we can actually make something out of this character that will make me like her a little bit more. And that is Dame Carruthers. And it might seem really silly that I've put somebody so high on this list that, she's not, like, openly shallow when she's not really deliberately hurt anybody. But what I don't like about her is like something that in real life, what I really can't stand about people is when people are like jobs worths. When people are like, oh, can't, hands are tied. When people just lack any sense of nuance, they won't ever compromise. And they seem to take some kind of perverse joy in seeing rules being upheld, like despite those rules potentially being quite hurtful to people. And the way that Dame Carruthers just swans around the place, just like casting this like shadow of like grossness and doom over everything, like shutting down any sense of freedom and subversiveness, like from Phoebe, even from Meryl, you know, tush in thy teeth, old man. Like, she's just such a buzzkill. Can you imagine being friends with a person like Dame Carruthers? I certainly couldn't. She is just no fun whatsoever. Just like overly kind of bureaucratical, like business-like cold people. I almost like prefer like just outwardly mean and cruel people to people that are just like, can't, sorry, hands are tied. I almost respect people who are just like openly mean, because like at least that's kind of authentic. Whereas it seems like Dame Carruthers is just like, why are you valuing the things that you value? You're like valuing a building that a lot of people die in just because there's history in it. I don't get her. I find her interesting, and I'm really looking forward to working with the person who we've cast as Dame Carruthers to try and add like a bit of like spice to her and try and make her like a bit more interesting and relatable and likable than I usually find her, because usually I'm completely not won over by Dame Carruthers. So that'll be a challenge for me as a director and my lovely Dame Carruthers, and we will be working on that in the coming weeks. Number 2 for characters that I would not particularly want to be friends with is Sparky, and for me it's just the utter shallowness and willingness to like throw away a relationship over like jealousy and this point scoring he has with the woman that he's supposed to be in love with, and just how readily like he's pushy with her. Like he's saying, oh, why aren't you kind of kissing me on this mountaintop? And she's saying, oh, well, we're not completely married yet, I don't want to. And he's like, well, if you won't kiss me, I know someone who will. We're not completely married yet. No. It's just so childish. Like, this guy is not a grown-up. I have absolutely no sympathy or any kind of resonance with this character at all. I find him so gross. And the fact that he's like comparing Nicemus and Daphne looks-wise, she's quite as pretty as you and has twice as much back hair. Come on, man, like that's so mean. Like, why are you pitting them against each other like that? I mean, she's not particularly nice either, Nicemus, but it's just such a vile person. They deserve each other, in my opinion. I think that Daphne's got a bit more kind of spark and creativity, but Nicemus and Sparky, and I really wouldn't want to be friends with either of those guys. But number 1 for characters I would least like to be friends with in the GNS canon is Alexis from The Sorcerer. So what is so dangerous about Alexis, and I've talked about this before, but for anyone who's new, what's so dangerous about Alexis is that he comes off as really nice. And actually that's very true of real life. Like, a lot of people come across as really nice and really loving, like he's totally love bombing Aline, only to later kind of say, oh, well, are we not going to drink the potion? She's like, well, no, because I love you. But the thing is, because he cannot feel love, because he's such a narcissist, like he can only really love himself, he doesn't believe that she will continue to love him. And so then he gaslights her and makes her feel like she's the problem in this scenario, where she won't like drink a drug that will make her love him against her will forever. You are the problem in that scenario, Alexis, not Aline. And it's never resolved. And he like goes to the end of the show like thinking that he did the right thing. And of course, he almost faces repercussions in the fact that she falls in love with Dr. Daly. But then he doesn't even respond to that gracefully. He's not even like, oh yeah, this is my bad, because you only drank that because of me. No, none of that. False one, be gone. I spurn you. Alexis, you know what the potion does. You know she can't help it. What a vile human being. And then, to top it all off, at the end, Wells is like, there's two ways of solving it. Either I die or you die. Alexis, this is your one chance to like regain a sense of honour here. Because Wells is a respectable tradesperson. You bought the potion off him, knowing what it would do. You saw the procedure. You saw that he used like demons in it. In what world should Wells die for this? For your mistake, Alexis? It is disgusting. Anyone who thinks that Alexis is like a noble character with good intentions, like, should seek help. I'm deadly serious. Like, what? In what world is Alexis like any kinds of honourable and noble? At the first sign of conflict with Aline, he like throws her under the bus. Like, yeah, you should never judge people on how well they deal when things are going well, when they're getting everything you want. The better measure of a person is how well they deal with conflict, how well they can communicate and be honest with the people they love in a conflict, when things aren't going so well. And when things aren't going so well, Alexis's true colours come out, and they're not very pretty colours. So there we have it. There are like characters in GNS that I'd least want to be friends with, that I'd least want to go for a drink with. Do you agree? Have I missed any characters off that you really hate? Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you next time for some more tomfoolery. Goodbye. Subscribe.